everybody, it's Blair with the Badass Records podcast, welcoming you in for another episode, and this week's guest is the talented and lovely Julie Bennett Hume. You can follow her on Instagram at Julie_Bennett Hume Music. Bennett has 2 N's and 2 T's, and Hume is Hume. She's also at JulieBennettHume.com. You can find her on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and CD Baby. And be sure to catch her live Wednesday, April 15th at Hammers Dueling Piano Bar at 3901 Main in downtown Kansas City as part of Low Key Wednesday starting at 7 p.m. Episodes of the podcast air Thursdays when all is right with the world. You can stream or download it on your platform of choice. You can view it on YouTube. Everything lives on the website, which is badassrecordspodcast.com. The Instagram handle for the podcast is at badassrecordspodcast. Excuse me. And last but not least, shouts out to James Carter of You Found Music for connecting Julie and I. Much appreciated, James. That's all I got for you this week. Appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. So I think this will wind up being episode number 205 of Badass Records Podcast. And Julie Bennett Hume, welcome.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Folk in America singer-songwriter. You are at Julie_Bennett Hume Music on Instagram, JulieBennettHume.com, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, CD Baby. Solo debut LP in 2016 plus 3 solo albums.
Let's see. I've done 3 solo albums altogether, and then I did a duo project with a gentleman by the name of Chris Hudson, who's in a group called Gully Washer, and he and I did in 2021. We released a duo project called Songs of Latter Days. So I've got 4 CDs out altogether.
Why do I have that down as the Multiverse? What's the
it is the Multiverse. I'm sorry. That was our duo name.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's our duo name.
Okay. So Late Bloomer in 2017, Vinegar in 2019, and then the Lorelei just last year. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the Multiverse came out
2021, I believe.
Okay,
we recorded it during COVID.
Gotcha. I see a gig on April 15th at Hammers Dueling Piano Bar. Low Key Wednesdays. That is
on 3901 Main. It's actually right underneath KKFI.
Okay.
It's Ben Parks of the group of Tree. He's a local artist, he does a thing called Low Key Wednesdays there.
Very cool. Shout out to James Carter of You Found Music for connecting us.
Yes.
How did the two of you come in contact with one another?
I've known James for quite a bit because back in 2018, he booked me at some pizza places that he was working at in North Kansas City. What he was working on booking, and so I've known him and been friends with him for quite a while. And about a year ago, when I started doing this latest duo project, he hooked up to help me kind of do a better job of maybe promoting my work. And I'm not the greatest at doing that all the time. And then he's also helped me book some tours.
Okay, cool.
And I just got back from Seattle and playing there last week, and it was really fun.
By plane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a great time.
Nice.
I will be back to Seattle. It was a wonderful place to play. Fantastic audience.
Awesome. So Late Bloomer, Vinegar, the Lorelei, those are visible digitally.
Yeah.
Is the solo debut?
You mean the Multiverse or the Late Bloomer? Late Bloomer's available. That was my debut album, that's available. And that's available. Okay. The same places, same suspects. Every Spotify, Apple Music, all that.
Right. Okay. So, is it possible between Late Bloomer, Vinegar, Lorelei, Multiverse? Can you distill each of those releases for me? What distinguishes them from one another?
Well, what Late Bloomer is I started playing music in my like late college years, and I'd written a lot of music when I was younger. My life took some twists and turns, and although I played music in a lot of ensembles in my 20s. Once I got married, had kids, was going to grad school in Germany, in Austria, doing a lot of different things, teaching, and music eventually just kind of fell by the wayside for a good while. I made a few attempts to get back into it and just found family life and work life and everything was sort of having to take precedence. So when I was in my early 50s, I decided to start kind of looking back at the music I'd written through the year, because I'd really I'd kept writing songs even though I wasn't performing anywhere.
Sure.
And so I finally had some people, including my husband, just say, you've never even recorded any of your songs. Why don't you at least, if nothing else, just go into the studio and record the songs that you've written that you like the most. And so that's what I did with Late Bloomer. And I got together a bunch of old music friends and got together at a guy named Kelly Wirtz's basement and got my friends in. And it was a real, everyone says, oh, it's a labor of love, and that's so cliche, but it really was. It was just sort of, oh my gosh, all these old friends, and some of the songs I'd written when I was 19 years old, and then some of them were more recent songs, but and then I had a couple of professional musicians in town, like Betsy Ellis, who's an incredible fiddler, used to play with a group called the Wilders, and is an incredible musician. And I just I didn't stop there. I got bitten by the bug again.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, and I had some, because I was older, in my 50s and going back and making my debut album, I got some good press that you get, when you have a special story.
Good title for it too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why I did that. Yeah. But then after that, I just it was funny because I played with a lot of really good bands when I was young, and I was used to having pretty good gigs,
Sure.
I wasn't used to the playing in the little pizza place. I was used to like auditorium gigs and stuff, and I never, because I was in bands, I never had to book myself. It was just, I showed up and what happened when I became a solo artist is I really, even at my age, had to start from scratch.
Gosh.
And in addition to that, I wasn't a cute young thing anymore, which always helps,
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of things to contend with. And so I wouldn't say it's been, just starting there and straight to the top. It's been having to go back and pay some dues, even
Sure.
though I've really kind of gone back and forth, and I just keep loving it and keep staying with it. And my last album, the Lorelei, I started and stopped recording it like for 5 years. I was going back and forth, and I just couldn't leave it. And
Wow.
I ended up really, really being grateful that a guy named Chad Brothers, he's a musician in his own right, he plays in some. Oh, I think he plays in something called Supermassive Black Hole, Old Sound, some stuff like that. He came on, and it was the first time I had a producer that really listened to me. And I, in the past, it's easy for producers to kind of come in and say, oh, I added this while you were gone. I added this piano, or I added this, or, and Chad was the first one to sit down and, well, what do you really want this to sound like? And really helped me get some fantastic musicians on it, like some of the best musicians in town on it. But he also just, he looked at it as my vision, and it really kind of changed the way I felt about recording. I realized that I could take a lot more ownership than I had and not depend on other people's opinions.
Right.
So it was a real, even though at my stage in playing music, like how many 5 decades later, whatever, I felt like it was a real turning point for me in just learning how to kind of, ask myself what I want this to sound like. And but some of the people on it, Marco Pasqualini, an incredible pedal steel player in town, Ernest James, a Zydeco guy that's just incredible. He just recently moved, but he had Ernest James Zydeco band here in town. It was incredible. and Chad Brothers himself, and just a bunch of people like that.
Cool.
A blues duo called Scotch Hollow. Just a
Yeah,
lot
I've
of
had both of them on.
yeah. So just a lot of people like that were on my project that just
Cool.
really, really got me the sound I wanted.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So what does Lorelei mean? Where does this name?
Well, I'm a German teacher, and that's what my master's degree is in German. And there's actually a German myth about the sirens from the Odyssey.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, the Lorelei, there is this part of the Rhine River. It's really dangerous. It has like this cliff that juts out, and through the years, an incredible number of ships have actually run into that rock. And so there was always this legend that there was this naked woman singing up on the rock, and that's why they and so I just was kind of looking at it, of all the people I've known that have been sort of led into a rock by different seductions in their life.
Yeah.
And so that I took Rainer Maria Rilke, who's a German poet. Excuse me, I'm using the wrong poet. Right, it's Heinrich Heine. I got it mixed up. But Heinrich Heine is a German poet, and he wrote a poem about it in German, about the Lorelei, and just how it makes him so sad looking at that and everything. And it's obviously the double meaning there in his poem. So I just basically took his poem and kind of translated it into almost a jug band kind of a song about a siren and singing the blues and wrecking the guys and that kind of a thing. So anyway, yeah, it was fun. And then a guy in town that's a musician and an artist named Hank Tilbury, he did a painting for me of the
cool.
Lorelei. It's really cool.
Very nice.
And just this naked gal up on a mountain playing the guitar.
Have you shared that painting anywhere?
Yeah, it's the cover of my CD.
Very cool.
And my vinyl. It's the cover. Okay. It's really fantastic. He's a great artist, and it's a hilarious photo. I really like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So late bloomer is looking back at old stuff. Lorelei, you have this incredible experience with Chad. What about Vinegar?
Oh, that was a fun project that I did. I did that back in 2018, and it came out in 2019. But that was a guy that is living in Wales now. His name was Mike West. I don't know if you knew him. He lived in, I can't remember. He was in a pretty popular duo in Lawrence. He moved to Lawrence after his home was flooded in the hurricane in St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
St. Louis, New Orleans.
Gotcha.
New Orleans. Wrong French city.
Yeah.
That he was on that street, that was just one of those districts that was just totally destroyed. Wow. He lost everything he and his wife did. So they moved to Lawrence, and I luckily got him right before he moved to Wales. He was originally from the UK. And I got him to do this right before he moved to Wales. And it's really, I will say, that when he takes over a project, man, he takes over and everything. And it's like you kind of record and you come in the next day and there's all these things that you just kind of didn't know were there. And I have mixed feelings about that, but I will say there are a couple of tracks on there that I just really like what he did to them. And they would not be the recording they are without him, because he's a very talented guy. And he's also a talented musician. He'd just sit down there while he was mixing and put a mandolin part in or put a banjo part in or anything. And he's got really, really good ears. So that was fun. And that was, but I like that. There's a lot of songs on there. It was recorded after my father's death. I was very close to my father. And there's a couple of songs on there that they're really kind of about grief. But then it was just sort of my finding my way as a songwriter again. And there's several songs on there that I really like, and I still play a lot when I play live.
I was going to ask, when you gig, are you playing stuff from all three
of all of them? Yeah, from all of them. There's, I will say that there's only a couple of songs that I wrote back in my teen years and 20s that I still play on a regular basis. A lot of them, it's just sort of like looking at a diary entry and going, oh, that was cute, but some of them, especially, I used to write a lot of funny songs because when I was younger and more insecure, I liked the immediate feedback you get from a funny song. You know, you
Sure.
sing this line and everybody yuck yuck yuck. And the thing is, it gets really old really fast.
I bet. Yeah.
You know, so you know, most of my songs that are that I play often from Late Bloomer are ones that I wrote shortly before I recorded it.
Okay.
And but I have a lot of songs on there. I'd say there's 2 or 3 songs on there that are some of my favorite songs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you're gigging, are you same set list every show? Or are you
Oh
mix?
God, no.
Awesome.
I usually, if I'm with somebody else, of course, I'll do a set list. But if I'm by myself, I just like to have a list of about 20 songs, and I'll kind of look down. Okay, I'll do that one now. I like to get a feel for the audience
Yeah.
and kind of see what's going on, and
As it should be.
and then just have some okay, let's speed it up a little bit, or ooh, they're really listening to the words. I'm gonna do some of my more introspective songs, so but I just like the fact that I'm at the point now where I've written enough songs that I know that any gig I do, that I'll have more than enough songs that
Cool.
that I've written that I'm happy to play, and of course I'm not opposed to doing a cover every now and then, because I know as an audience member that I love a good cover, but I would say about 90% of my gigs are usually original music.
So how does the duo project for the Multiverse come into being?
Well, I had played a little bit with this guy Chris Hudson from Goalie Washer, and we really had some of the same ideas about things that were going on in the world at the time, and we ended up, a lot of the songs are very political. Well, they're all, except for maybe one, very political, and we decided to do a concept album together. I kind of was looking back. I grew up, I was in my adolescence and high school years during the 70s, and
Sure.
to me an album was very much about a concept album. I loved the ones where the whole album sort of had this feeling, and I loved the idea of all the songs kind of fitting together. I think of one of my favorite concept albums is actually Willie Nelson's Redheaded Stranger.
Okay.
I just love an album where I feel like everything kind of fits together, and I felt like we were telling a story with it, and it was sort of a story about people being upset about Black Lives Matter, the things that had happened in Minneapolis, the fact that a lot of human rights seemed to be stepped on, and the fact that COVID was going on and the world just felt like it was falling apart. And so there were a lot of songs that I'd written. A song that I'd written earlier and actually recorded on Late Bloomer was called Wrong Place, and I originally wrote that about Ferguson, but it seemed to be even more resonant during the Minneapolis, during the George Floyd.
God, Ferguson feels like a lifetime ago now.
It does now. It does now, but I tell you, it was the beginning of a lot of people like me really starting to take a second look at what was going on in our cities. I feel like it was an important
Little did we
turning
know
point.
there would be more Minneapolis stuff.
Exactly. And and a lot of songs on there. From my point of view, what's interesting is that I've had people laugh and call it my Hitler record, because I'm this woman that has spent an incredible amount of time in Germany and Austria, and I studied there, and so when you talk about something like the rise of fascism, I have a very German, perspective of it.
Interesting.
And so a lot of a couple of my songs, one of them, Empty Shoes, was about, I went to a couple of Holocaust sites in one summer when I was taking students there. And we went to Auschwitz, and we went to Dachau, and we also went to there's a place in Budapest that is it's a Holocaust memorial, and it's by the Danube River. It is empty shoes, like all these shoes.
Ew.
And what it is it turned out that one of the first ways they got rid of Jewish people, that they executed them, was they would tell them to take their shoes off and then they would shoot them and they would fall into the Danube. And so I had a song called Empty Shoes, and I put that on that album. And then I had just a couple of songs about a woman that was Hitler's filmmaker, and about complicity, and that the evildoers aren't the only ones that are to blame. That other
Why
people.
Why would they want the shoes to be taken off?
I think it was just a way of. Well, first of all, if you've been to Auschwitz, there's whole rooms full of shoes. They would take people's shoes. Yes, they would take people's shoes. There's whole rooms full of hair, whole rooms of clothing. They would basically take everything from people, and.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of the war, they would give them to people, citizens that were in need. They would give Jewish belongings to them, and also there's a lot of information about nice things they had going to like party members' wives and stuff,
boy.
like furs and diamonds and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, the whole album for me was sort of that. And I had one really good, the one that I wrote about the Hitler's filmmaker, Leni Riefenstahl. I had a song called Dancing Lenny, and my husband made an incredible video with it. And he's still not allowed to get back on YouTube.
What?
There was, he had, first of all, the word Hitler is in the song, and he had juxtaposed some Nuremberg rally photos of Hitler along with some things like the Charlotte protest where they were with their tiki torches and saying Jews will not replace us and all this. And he had done some juxtaposing of these things,
and he just blocked?
He got blocked from YouTube, and he's tried to get back on, and they still won't let him back on.
He's tried to get back on with the same handle, or
yeah. Just curious as what he can
when
do
was
to
it?
get
How
back
long
on.
ago?
That was in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, immediately blocked.
I mean, I've got to believe there's hundreds of thousands of things on YouTube that say or show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really bizarre. Bizarre. And but it's too bad because it was a really good video that he put together, and he spent a lot of time on it. And I think the song was an important one. I really had in mind things like Fox News and just different propaganda, instruments that people have been complicit in helping really bad things happen.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Chris and I did that, and what's really sad is that I was trying to think of some of the other songs. One of them is from a W.H. Auden poem written in 1939 called Refugee Blues, and W.H. Auden was writing about the fact that the British were being really bad about letting Jewish refugees come in.
Were they?
And so I took that poem and put it to music because back in 2021, of course, we were already worried about things that were going on, children being put in cages and stuff.
Yeah.
And but Chris and I sort of during the Biden years were like, oh, this is all dated kind of stuff and everything. And then all of a sudden it wasn't dated, and I found those songs being played on the radio again and stuff. And there's nothing. I mean, it's ironic, but I don't take any pleasure in the fact that those songs are still relevant. I mean, how depressing, that especially when I kind of felt like, oh, we don't need to worry about this as much now. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was nice to do a project like that.
Sure.
I don't know it seems like things are kind of moving away from these concept albums, but I'm really glad that I got to make one because
Sure.
I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed having everything sort of be one purpose, like what fits together and what really goes with these other songs, kind of thing. And
well, I know what you mean, but I steadfastly hold on to faith that it won't die.
I hope so.
And that goes not just for concept albums, but albums in general.
Oh yeah, I know. I have a political radio show on KKFI, and we did have these guests one time. There are these two women that they have a podcast called "But Did You Listen to the Whole Album?"
Yeah.
and I
had Kimology
Oh,
on.
okay,
Yeah,
yes, and I really like that they have a show like that because I'm the same way. I mean, I just, I consider my whole adolescence just looking at my album covers and going over all the lyrics and everything.
So you mentioned KU. That's undergrad?
Yeah. I studied German and philosophy at KU, and then I did my master's degree in a town called Klagenfurt, Austria. It's on the Slovenian border.
How do you wind up doing that?
Well, I was getting ready to teach German, and I was realizing that I really needed to live overseas because I don't have any German family. And it's not like Spanish where you can find people to speak Spanish with very easily.
Right. And
I had talked to German professors who told me, you're never really going to become fluent until you go over there.
Yeah.
So I was able to find a program where I could go over there and work on my master's degree. I went. I got some help from my folks, and I went. And then I originally went for a longer period of time, and then I finished it up by going a few summers after I got married. My husband went with me and helped me finish my comps and everything by making me not go out and hike in the Alps, but sit in my dorm room and study,
Cool.
Which is really hard when you're, living in the Alps and all you want to do is be out looking at stuff.
Course.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have kind of, you stepped away from stuff, but you have continued to write songs.
Yeah.
What does songwriting look for you? Is there a uniformness to it? Is it always different?
Always different.
Are you pen and paper? Are you an acoustic guitar?
Pen and paper. Sometimes lately I'll be in a car and come up with something. So I'll either voice recording real fast or I've seen a lot of my lyrics end up on my notes function, but originally it was like everything from the back of receipts to the back of napkins to
lyrics
just
have always
anything.
Come first.
They usually come first. Every once in a while I've heard a tune along with the lyric, but I've never had a tune that I needed to put music to. It's the always way around. Yeah. Other way around. And I really, if I could get better at one thing, it's really I feel like I'm very influenced by music that I listened to when I was young that I loved. Like Stephen Steele's guitar tunings are very much a part of my songwriting. And sometimes I'm realizing, I'll play several songs and I've mixed feelings about them because a lot of my songs, the minute you hear it, you can tell it's my song. And part of it's because I might be in that dadgad tuning. And there are a couple of chords that come up again and again. I have mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, it's like, why can't I be more versatile than that? On the other hand, it's like I listened to people that I really liked, like Joni Mitchell and Stephen Stills and Neil Young and just people like that. I'm like, okay, but it's the same way with them. Even with Springsteen, you hear chords and you immediately, oh, this is a Springsteen song. Bruce. And so part of it is, I mean, it's sort of your fingerprint, but I will say that one thing I've continued to do is try to work on guitar theory and work on things like circle of fifths and try to get a little bit more varied in the tunes that I put together. But on the other hand, it's really not the kind of thing that you can intellectualize too much. No. It's just a song comes to you and the words come to you. And a lot of times it's like, oh my God, I remember I was reading Iris DeMent had written about the song she wrote, Our Town, and she said she was driving through this little town and she just had to pull over and park and write the song. And I definitely know that feeling of, okay, I just got to stop here. Yeah. I got to stop here and write this down or I'm going to forget it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I have on one of my favorite songs, I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had to run and write it down. And, I hear a lot of songwriters are that way. It just comes to you, at least that kernel of an idea comes to you. That being said, I'm a huge song editor.
Okay. Meaning you swap out lyrics
go in
pieces
constantly. And even after I've recorded a song, I will change words because I decided something I like better. But yeah, I don't ever feel like I'm really done writing some songs. It's like, oh gosh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I was just listening to a song I wrote the other day, and it's about the plaza and being at the plaza on a spring night when it's been a hard winter, and then all of a sudden, that one beautiful night in spring where, oh my gosh, winter's over. And in this song, I had a verse about the men all notice the pretty young girls, and I thought, God, after all the Epstein stuff, I don't know if I want that lyric anymore.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I mean, it's obviously one experience to, oh wow, the weather is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But like simultaneously, you're like, well, there's a lot more skin.
Yeah, exactly.
In the world than there was yesterday.
That's exactly what's going on. And spring, it does awaken just all kinds of feelings, even in old people, and animals, people, trees, everything kind of wakes up. And that's what I was trying to, suggest in that song called April 23rd. But on the other hand, it is funny how when world events come around, you kind of go, ooh, I just don't know if I would, know. It's sort of like musicians sometimes will go, ooh, when I wrote that song, it didn't seem like a stalking song, but now.
Right. Yeah. So I've never been to Hammers Dueling Piano Bar, as you mentioned, 3901 Main Street. Tell me about that place and how your standing gig came to be.
It's not a standing gig.
Oh, it's not like every other.
No. He has music there, but this is a one-time thing. I am going, and I'm actually going to be accompanied by a vocalist. I think you said you've had her on your show, Carly Verbeck from Scotch Hollow. Yeah, Carly and I are doing a duo
They're up there
together.
Somewhere.
All right. Yeah. One of my favorite voices.
She's a sweetheart.
And I play with Carly and Mark sometimes. Okay. So this time Carly and I are trying a
Is this the one on your site
duo.
That's April 15th?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right.
I just I have a show on KKFI, so I noticed they were doing these shows. So I just called up Ben Parks, one of my favorite actual visual artist. My husband and I, one of our most prized possessions is a self-portrait of Ben. And when I found out he was the one doing the booking, I'm like, hey, I really want to do this. But Ben's been really good about giving local songwriters, this place to go and have these little. It sounds like it's gonna be a listening room experience, which was sort of my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. So that's April 15th.
Yeah.
Time frame ish.
I think it's 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Board member of Heartland Song Network.
Yeah.
I'm only vaguely familiar with that organization, a nonprofit geared toward creating a sustainable music industry in the Heartland that supports our members' artistic endeavors. Tell me about Heartland through your lens and what that experience has been like.
Well, we formed together. It's really interesting. We formed Heartland Song Network back in 2020, right? We all went to Folk Alliance International's conference. It was in New Orleans that year.
Okay.
We had a wonderful time. A couple of people, Diana, Lynn, and Danny Powell, Diana has a show on KKFI, and Diana and Danny said they were kind of interested in putting together an organization that helped songwriters in Kansas City. And so in February of 2020, a few people you might know, Aaron McGrain, Bo Bledsoe from Ensemble Iberica, and Rex Pryor, who's a local musician, and Diana and Danny and I, we formed this.
Really?
And then a gal named Debbie Vilches later joined it, and we started doing things. What I was involved in, I started doing a lot of youth mentorship projects. Cool. Like I had a youth song swap for a long time that we did. We started a youth songwriting contest.
Oh, wow.
But what originally happened was after our very first meeting shut down.
Oh, yeah.
And so we continued to get together over Zoom. And one of the first things we did was fantastic for the times. Rex Pryor and I organized a songwriters collaboration where we paired up people. We had all these people put in their names and we paired up people. So while all these musicians were stuck at home, we paired them up with people to do songwriting. And we did a couple of those collaborations during the year. We also did some fundraisers because a lot of people were really hurting when they couldn't go out and gig.
Yeah.
And so right out of the gate, we had a lot of opportunities to support different musicians. And from there, we still do a lot of youth stuff. I have been trying to, and I'm still working on it, but I am trying to get going on having a concert series for sensory-friendly concert series for people with developmental disabilities.
Okay.
I have a daughter who's nonverbal autistic, loves music. A lot of people are afraid to bring autistic family members to concerts because they're afraid they'll be too loud or the music will be too loud or something. And so I've done one of those already, and I'm looking to do more concerts with that. We recently, the Folk Alliance International was in New Orleans again this year.
Oh, funny.
And we got together with KKFI and the Kansas City Folk Fest with Mikhail Shapiro, and we got together and we had a Kansas City room.
Cool.
And it was a showcase room we had. And so every night we had all these acts from Kansas City, and it was amazing.
Is this the thing that happens on the plaza in like hotel rooms?
Yes, yes. Okay. But it's been going around to different places. It was at Montreal last year, and this year it was in New Orleans.
Right.
And every time it's in New Orleans, it's just, it's a party. It's wonderful. And so that's one of the main things that we do is we've been going to that and giving musicians a place to go. We do a lot of things like that. I'll tell you, exciting thing that's coming up is May 14th. We are working with Folk Alliance International had a grant to do some concerts. And so we're teaming with them, and we are having a couple of ladies. One of them is Seiko from the Freedom Affair, and the other one is a Arkansas artist, and her name escapes me right now. But we're doing a night of protest music at Steve Tolpana is letting us use the record bar.
Very cool.
And so it's May 14th, and it's called Women of the Rebellion. And we're not only having a concert that's sort of a homage to different protest singers, everybody from Nina Simone to Joan Baez to Tracy Chapman, just sort of a night of protest music, and people will be singing their own protest songs, and then in addition to that, singing some from some of their favorite musicians. And so we're really excited about that. It's the first time we've done something like that, and we're getting some help from the folks at KKFI, and I think it's going to be I was really glad Steve wanted to do it at the Record Bar. I think it's a perfect place for something like that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of KKFI, She Talk Wha?
Yes, She Talk Wha.
Saturdays at 3:30.
Yeah.
Podcast that focuses on local, state, national, and global issues facing women in today's political and cultural climate.
Yeah.
How did your involvement with that program come into being? And I see 8 hosts.
Yeah,
Is it a rotation? How does that?
We kind of all work together, and usually 1 or 2 of us lead the show for that week.
But you're all
yeah, we're a cohort. Yeah,
together.
We are.
Cool.
I originally, starting in 2018, I had a show on KKFI that was called River City Chautauqua. And do you know what a Chautauqua is?
I recognize the name, but
there was back in the 19th century, late 19th century, in the town of Chautauqua, New York. It started off, these Presbyterian ministers, actually this is a funny story, they were trying to find a way to give their Sunday school teachers a little bit better education and a little bit more secularized education, not just a religious education. So they started these little kind of seminars that would have, that have some music, and then it have like maybe some philosophy professors, maybe some literature professors, different talks from political figures. And it became so popular that it became really like a state fair for people that wanted a little more intellectual entertainment. And Chautauqua was the original place, but they started having traveling Chautauquas that went all over the country at the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, where there would be lectures. Even people like, I'm trying to think, some of the people, I'm trying to think of the Charles Darwin guy from the one that had to go to court because he was teaching evolution, the Scopes trial.
Okay.
People from that would go around and talk. Different philosophy professors. Mark Twain spoke at a couple of Chautauquas.
Okay.
So you would have these different figures and really talking about ideas in science and in literature and politics. And then there'd be music. And a lot of times at the beginning, it was mainly religious music, but then it started being like sometimes like John Philip Sousa type music and different stuff. Very popular until radio. But there was a book that was published in the 70s called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig.
Yeah.
Right. And he wrote about the Chautauqua a lot. He said this book is kind of be like a Chautauqua. Well, because I taught, in addition to teaching German, I used to teach a course called Theory of Knowledge where we read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And I thought, someday I want to do a radio show that's a Chautauqua, and I want to get philosophy professors on, and I want to get musicians, and I want to get people talking about science. And so I called my old philosophy professor from KU, and he got me in touch with the KU philosophy professor, and he said, yeah, I'll help you on this.
Cool.
And so it was really fun. We got like physics professors, and we got people talking about AI, and we got really good musicians. And it kind of ran its course. It became very hard for me to do on my own.
Sure.
All on my own. It was when I was still working part-time, and I just I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. But when I quit KKFI said, well, if you ever want to come back, well, fast forward to 2024, and I got really concerned about Project 2025. And all of a sudden, especially as a woman, I'm looking at stuff going, oh, man, I got to do something. So I got together with a neighbor, and we got on a site called Red, White, and Blue that is still a woman's activism site. And we put together our own local group of them. And after Trump was elected again, I know you can have people of different political persuasions listening to you, but for me, it was a very disturbing time.
This many people in my audience. So.
Okay. Yeah. Very disturbing time. And so what I ended up doing was asking these women, well, would you like to do a radio show? And because we could have a political radio show where every week we can talk about Project 2025, we can talk about local stuff, national stuff, but as women, we can get on and really address this. And so I got several women interested in it, and the team I have is incredible. First of all, the reason they got involved was because they were already very involved in politics and ideas. But one of the ladies is a former EPA lawyer. A couple of them are professors. A lot of them are really involved in local politics. And so everything from school board elections to, things that are going on with the SAVE Act. We have these shows every week. We've had a lot of local politicians involved in it. And, some of the shows we've done, I've just been really proud of. We did one just a few weeks ago where we interviewed several people that were on the ground in Minneapolis, several women who we interviewed them right after Alex Preddy had been killed, and we asked them what's it like up there, and a lot of them didn't use their real names, of course, because they're very concerned about what's going on. But just being able to talk to those women about what's going on, I feel like we're doing a really good balance of talking about local things that are going on that concern us, like whether it's a school board election or whether it's a property tax problem or whatever, we talk about that. but we also talk about bigger ideas. And one of the things that we did that kind of goes back to the reason, of course, that we're She Talk Wha then is because it's a women's show. And
Very cool.
Yeah, and then the other thing is we are really good about reading books. We read a really good book together about the KKK and how they were very involved in the Midwest, and that's not always looked at. People tend
like an assignment. We're all like a book club, but legit.
Yes.
We're not getting together to drink wine. We're going to talk about this.
Exactly. And so that's what we have talked about some of these books on. We also talked about, we read a book that was talking about how the Moms for Liberty were taking over school boards in places like Texas and stuff, and how that was
Moms for Liberty.
Yeah, Moms for Liberty is a group. They are very concerned about things like they don't want anything LGBTQ in schools. Yeah. They've been involved in a lot of book banning. They
Sounds
say a
like
lot
an
of
awesome group of gals.
Yeah, and they'll say ridiculous things like when I was still teaching. Even one mom that was part of Moms for Liberty approached me about the litter boxes in classrooms, which is hilarious. I don't know they have this idea that teachers are placating the furries by putting litter boxes in classrooms.
You can shit in the corner while I'm teaching Shakespeare.
Never, if you really ask them, they can't tell you one place this has ever happened, but they love to talk about it.
Lord.
And so one of the ladies, in fact, on our team of She Talk Wha, her name is Devoya Marshall, and she has put together this group called SET, Strengthening Education Together, and she's been really instrumental in getting a lot of women in the area to run for school board that had never thought about it. Okay. And in several areas, she gets people like she's gotten, I think of some of the women, she's gotten like this woman that was an engineer who just said, okay, I'll go in and do it, like really competent women. And by golly, they're going in and pushing out those other people. There's been some real progress made in this area because of Devoya. Yeah.
So because of
Devoya, this woman, Devoya Marshall, she has her group, Strengthening Education Together. She has really, they not only support these candidates, but they recruit really good people, which is sort of the right-wing playbook for a lot of this stuff. And so it's interesting using that same technique to kind of counter that.
Yeah. Okay, so this thing is every week.
Every week, it's 3 to 4 at KKFI.
You're a cohort.
Yeah, yes.
All 8 of you.
Yes.
How are you managing talking over? And
what we usually do, we don't all come in the same week. Every once in a while we do. Like this week actually this Saturday is our 1-year anniversary. And so most of us will be on there kind of talking about what's happened in the last year. But usually about 1 or 2 to 3 of us will go, hey, I really want to talk to like Stacey Lake, who's running for county executive, okay, I want to talk to Stacey Lake. Well, I do too. Well, it's the 3 of us. We'll come up with questions.
And are the rest remote or
no? We usually have about 3, maybe 4 of us on at the same time, and then we take turns, and that's one thing that I love about it is I don't have to be there every week. And I can do things like one thing I like to do is I have gigs around town, and so it's great that I don't have to be there every week. And,
so, this I had Patrick Spray on from Center Cut Records many moons ago, and he said, "Man, you're doing this every week?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "That's a grind." And I said, "Yeah, really.
It is."
So, you got to be prepared.
Yes.
An hour can fly by, but you also have to have material.
And we have been really good about basically scripting it out so that whoever is doing the board, whoever's doing the board knows they're going to take a break here, this kind of thing. But of course, it's like anything else. It's like having a set list where I'm going to talk about all these different things. No, you aren't. You're going to get to this many. It's going to, you can say, I'm going to talk about this for 5 minutes, but you may end up talking about this for 50 minutes. But we're just very prepared.
It's on the site. It's listed as a podcast, but is it being broadcast live?
Yes, it's broadcast live.
Okay. Okay.
And we're pretty good about just, we know the deal. We know
Sure.
when the engineer says 3 minutes that we better wrap it up. And, it's every once in a while we'll do it pre-recorded if it's people from out of town or something. But most of the time it's just kind of, I feel like it's really good for us because the thing is, and you know that from doing your thing, is you have to be pretty darn prepared, you know, or you are just going to be sitting there going, well.
So, see that Royals game the other night?
Yeah, exactly. So, but, I do like the partnership because there's always sort of somebody to come in and tag team if you.
Well, it also probably helps keep it fresh.
Exactly.
There's never a shortage of topics.
There's never a shortage of
But
topics. And then when you have this many people, all of us are sort of involved in politics in a different way. So we have different connections. There's this one lady that's just incredible. She's a big activist with League of Women Voters.
Okay.
And it just seems like she knows everybody. And, it's like any time you talk about something, well, let's just have so-and-so. And
Right.
It's just nice to have a diverse group of women and,
Cool.
that know different people.
Well,
Yeah.
that's super admirable, and congratulations
Well,
on the year.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
hope
and I tell you,
there's-
I have to hand it to KKFI. They are just so good about letting people get on. And I tell you, I feel like the future's in community radio because, we just have so much freedom. Basically, our only boss is FCC regulations and everything. And we're religious about sticking with those.
Sure.
But other than that, we just get to have at it without anybody telling us what to
Yeah.
do. It's a little bit different than working for something like Fox News.
Yeah, a little bit.
CBS,
So a year is certainly nothing to scoff at, but one could make the argument that years 2, 3, 4 is where steam might really.
yeah.
So I hope that this is a thing that continues to grow and live and breathe.
If it didn't, one of the reasons it wouldn't be is that if all of a sudden, like things started getting better and we didn't have as many things
That's
to be
not
upset
happening.
about.
Maybe in our kids' lives.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like definitely as long as this administration is in, I don't think we're going to run out and with the Missouri governments that we have, right now. Yeah, we got a lot of things to be upset about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Right. So in your bio, the Americana folk singer songwriter stuff is pretty first and foremost. So is Kansas City. So Kansas City's home for you, but are you born and raised here?
No.
Okay.
No, my dad was a Methodist minister, so
Okay.
we moved around a lot. I lived in little towns. One I lived in when I was in part of grade school was Coffeyville, Kansas.
Okay.
And I have a real emotional attachment to that area just
Nice.
because I spent my childhood there in the 60s and I got to have, you see a movie like To Kill a Mockingbird and my childhood resembled that more than it did the childhood that you see today. Like I definitely was raised to leave the house at 7 a.m. and come back when it got dark, on my bike and just trusted to be out there and, out playing in a creek all day or
Sure.
whatever. And so I was probably one of the last people to kind of have that kind of childhood. But
I had a watered down version of it.
Yeah. But, it was definitely, I enjoyed living there. And then I moved to Manhattan, Kansas when I was a tween and graduated from high school there.
Okay.
And that was really good for me living in a university town. I'd lived in small towns before that, and really
Having education around is like
education
contagious.
around. All my friends were professors' kids. There were, cultural opportunities that I never would have had,
Sure.
just at the university
Yeah.
and hearing, seeing like Mikhail Baryshnikov dance and stuff like that. That you just don't get to do in a small town.
Manhattan as a tween, but you choose Lawrence for undergrad. Were you considering K-State at all?
I just wanted to get away from home,
Understood.
to be honest.
Yeah,
And I'd heard that KU had a really good German program, and
Okay.
I went in as a freshman majoring in German and philosophy, and that's what I majored in. And so, it had
Where
a good
did that come
reputation
from?
for that. My dad was a minister and
Yeah.
had always been, he was a philosophy major, and we had just spent most of my time growing up. He was the kind of person that we had fascinating conversations at home at the dinner table, and it just always seemed to me like, from the time that I was in high school reading philosophy, I just was always really interested in it. Didn't think a lot about the future. Oh, what kind of job are you going to have, studying
okay.
German and philosophy? But, those were just the areas that interest me. And to be honest, it's still the interest that I have for.
Yeah.
I right now I've really had since the early 20s, 2020s. I've had a real interest in Stoicism, kind of reemerge. Just looking at world events, I've kind of gone back to Stoicism a lot. Love German, so KU was sort of the place for me. And then, oh my gosh, Lawrence, I love Lawrence. I still
town.
love Lawrence.
Yeah. You ever get to gig there?
Yes.
Nice.
I've gigged there a lot, and that's where I started out gigging.
Okay.
Was in Lawrence, and I played my first band. I joined when I was in college. Was a string band that still plays. They were called the Alfred Packer Memorial String Band, and actually, it's probably been about 3 or 4 years ago, but the band, including I got to be part of it, we got inducted into the Kansas Music Hall of Fame.
Seriously?
Because they've been around that long. And but it's just it was a fun group of really
Cool.
eccentric guys, and so that was my first paid gig, and a guy named Rick Friedman there got me involved in doing singer-songwriter stuff. One of the first gigs I had, in fact, my first solo gig was opening for a guy you might have heard of named Robert Earl Keen. That was my first gig as a solo songwriter when I was like 21 years old and everything. So Lawrence has given me a lot of opportunities.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister who is an attorney in D.C., just recently retired, thank God, from the DOJ. She was a litigator for asylum law, and she's glad to be out, but pretty upset about what's happened to it. And then I have a brother that's a physician, lives in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any idea how mom and dad's paths crossed initially?
My mom and dad, yes, they met in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
When they were raising you guys, did they put on music to listen to in the home?
Yeah, I got something from both of them. My dad absolutely loved old time folk music, and that's my thing too. That's where I really got hooked. I listened to a lot of things like Doc Watson and Willie Nelson and stuff, and so that was some of my first music that I listened to. They also liked all the old Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, all that, and so I grew up kind of listening to that from my dad. My mom was actually a musician. My mom was an incredible singer. I have one recording of her. It's a 78, back when they had 78s that she did. She started singing professionally when she was like 15, 16 years old. She was a trained singer and really a beautiful voice, not a folk voice like that. I think I drove her crazy. She always was trying to get me to take voice lessons, and I just didn't like it because I just kind of wanted to sing my own way. Yeah. But my mom did start us like, I was like 4 when I started piano lessons, and then like 9 when I started cello, and that always the parents always made sure that even though my dad was a minister, we weren't rich. I always money for music lessons.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, it was nice to have my mom for a model of she was a music major and just, knew a lot about music.
Yeah.
And I listened to, I guess what I learned from my mom more than anything was a lot about classical music.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing. Every once in a while, somebody will give me a list for our conversation, and I know those records really well.
Yeah.
More often than not, they're all like, what is this? Sometimes it's an artist you've heard of all your life, but you've never listened to.
Yeah.
I think one of the Rebecks had a Doc Watson record on their list.
Oh, wow.
And when I'm listening to these, I'm also preparing, so I'm multitasking, so I'm not like fully dialed.
Yeah.
But seldom do I get to the end of a record and just go, wow.
Uh-huh.
I had that experience with whatever Doc Watson record. I was just like,
I know.
man, that was fun.
I know. I got to see him probably about 6 times in my life.
Very cool.
And the only time that I have openly wept at a concert was his son Merle was killed in a tractor accident.
Okay.
And in the first concert that he played after Merle died, he played this song. He said he was dedicating it to Merle because it was Merle's favorite song, and it was a song, I gave my love a cherry. And he sang the Riddle song, and he sang that, and oh my God, I am not a crier. I'm just not. I'm not, and I could not even keep quiet, and I was so embarrassed because I couldn't keep quiet, but I was just sobbing. But it's just, I don't know. He's just such an authentic. He was such an authentic a performer, and everything that he played, I just felt like, there wasn't a song that he didn't play where I didn't like the song better after Doc Watson had played it, and he was just such a gift, and
So,
I could have put him on my favorite albums too. I mean, gosh.
So here's the stuff Mom and Dad are listening to, and here's the stuff that you did share with me for your list.
Yeah.
We're not somewhere in the middle. Is there an album that first kind of grabs you, or maybe the first one you bought with your own money or borrowed from a friend?
Yeah, the first one I used to listen. My brother and sister both loved music, so I would listen to things that they had all the time. Like my sister, I remember her listening to Neil Young probably in 1970, 71. And I'm like, who's that girl? Her voice is really weird. It was after the gold rush.
Yeah.
But my brother would listen to Rolling Stones, and I thought they were great, and then my mom would be like, I don't want you listening to that. You don't know what those words mean, but eventually I had enough money to just get my own albums. And so my first album that I got was Paul Simon's Here There Goes Rhymin' Simon.
Really?
And I absolutely loved it.
Oh my God,
I listened to
cool.
it all the time. And that one song that I still love to this day was American Tune. And it's just a song that I just love. But actually, of albums that I came up with that are my favorite albums, the first time I ever heard the sister group, the Roches, was they were on one of the tracks of Paul Simon's There Goes Rhymin' Simon.
Oh, okay.
But I think that album did more than anything that I listened to before in kind of teaching me about the process of songwriting.
Wow.
I really went over those words all the time. And, I'm 10 years old reading American Tune, and I know just enough about what's going on in Vietnam and Watergate and all this stuff that I understood why he wrote that. And I understood it was like being a 10-year-old and understanding he doesn't have to say everything that's going on in there. It's like you if you know what's going on,
between the
know.
lines.
Yeah. And for a 10-year-old, that's a major thing. And then I just, from there, I really started paying more attention to the music that I was listening to. And every once in a while I would backslide, and my friends would be listening to some crap like Barry Manilow or something, and I'd listen to it for a while, and then I'd kind of go back to my own stuff.
Sure.
I had a love of music that a lot of times my friends, until I really got to high school, and part of the reason I picked the friend group I did is we all like the same, there's a time where your friend group is part of what you like about them is you like the same music or movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I would say by the time I was a junior in high school, my taste was pretty much set, whether it was Steely Dan or Rickie Lee Jones or Talking Heads, whatever, what the things that you listen to with your friends, you reach an age where that's kind of who you are. Yeah. And it really doesn't change that much. Most of the music that I liked when I was 17, 18, I still would prefer to listen to.
Sure.
It's kind of funny because I a lot of times when I do cover songs, it's still, Bob Dylan or Stephen Stills or, people you think about from a certain time period. And I was laughing with my husband the other day. I was saying me singing songs like by Bob Dylan that he wrote in the 60s is like when I was growing up in the 70s, like somebody listening to something from 1915. I said, and that blows my mind. And he goes, yeah, but a lot of the stuff that that Bob Dylan and those people were playing in the 60s and 70s, it was like from the 20s and stuff, you know, and it's something I'd never really thought about. But, you know, a lot of the singers, you know, they would go back, and not only were they singing, you know, old folk songs, like Woody Guthrie type folk songs, but they were also singing like Tin Pan Alley songs and stuff, you know, and, you know, you know, it's an interesting way of looking at it, you know, because it's such old music, but to me, it's just the kind of stuff it never, you know, I was just listening to, I actually was practicing with Carly Verbeck for our gig, and we were singing, Boots of Spanish Leather by Bob Dylan. And it's just like that song, you know, I'll be listening to that song. If I make it to 95, I'll still be listening to that song, you know?
What about live music? Is there an early or a first concert memory that stands out?
Yes, a few. And one of them is the first time that I saw Doc Watson.
Okay.
But when I was 17, my friends and I, it's really funny. My group of high school friends went to Kansas City to see the Grateful Dead. And the boys that we were friends with, they actually hopped a train. Can you believe they hopped a freight train?
Sure.
How dangerous.
How deadhead of them.
Oh, how dangerous. Yeah, but deadhead. And but I went with my friends to see the Grateful Dead. And, you know, I was a nice you know, minister's daughter, so I was totally sober listening to the Grateful Dead, but I just loved it. I just loved it. I enjoyed, not only did I enjoy their music, which I always have, but, you know, things that people make fun of, like the songs that go on for 15 or 20 minutes, you know, they could have gone on for 15 or 20 minutes more for me. I just enjoyed it. It reminds me of a funny story I heard, though. I can't remember, it was some comic, but they were talking about that they had just found some Grateful Dead live albums, and they had what was it, like 32 hours of the Grateful Dead, never before recorded, you know, never before published, and that the second song would be coming out soon. I thought it was hilarious.
Do you remember the year and the venue?
It would have been here in Kansas City, so I don't know. Music Hall or Kemper, one of one of those.
Yeah.
And that would have been in 1979.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, it was just and I really realized then how much I love concerts. I do love when it's a good. Some of the people that I've seen just recently, Gillian Welch. I love to see her. Go to see her every time. I went to see the Milk Carton Kids just recently. Loved it. I went to see just this year Rickie Lee Jones for the second time, and the 2 times I've seen Rickie Lee Jones have been 2 of the most incredible performances I've ever seen.
Cool.
So yeah, I love live music, and I mean that's not to mention all the great local groups that play that I love to hear. But it's nice that Kansas City gets these people. I several summers in the last few years, I've gone to a music camp called Acoustic Camp, and Chris Thiele, you know, from the Punch Brothers, he leads them, and there's a lot of incredible musicians like Bela Fleck,
nice,
and they come and teach at those, and I just love going to those. And so Chris Thiele was here recently with the Kansas City Symphony, and that was really fun to see him. But he's an incredible teacher and incredibly generous artist. And last summer he did a camp in Monterey, and it was just amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So your trajectory as a musician has wide-reaching and lessons as a young person, and then sort of gigging and so forth in your 20s in college.
Yeah.
And then a step away, and then a resurgence.
In my 20s, I was involved with a group of guys. Some of them still play here in town. One of them is Bert Fleming. He's with a group called Sounds of Africa and Traditional Music Society. I was involved in a group called Center for World Music, and I was involved in a lot with those musicians for about a decade. And I played one of the main bands I played in was a Cajun band. So I was a Cajun singer for several years. But then also I was in an Afro-Cuban ensemble that was part of that Center for Music called Manos. And we did Afro-Cuban music.
Cool.
And then we also had an Appalachian string band that we played in together. So I was in those 3 ensembles
How
as a part
diverse.
of this big series, and it really helped me musically. And that's what I did a lot of my late 20s through early 30s before I had to quit. And so I can't fail to mention that, because it had a lot to do with my development as a musician, just being around really good performers in these bands.
Nice. Very cool. So singer-songwriter, guitar, some banjo, is the birthplace of all things Julie Bennett Hume music. Does it go back to lessons and music in the home? Is that?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know that well, for one thing, I know is that growing up with my family, I learned how to sing harmony.
Okay.
We sang together, like on family trips. We sang together, like old spirituals and stuff like that,
Cool.
and old like the Weavers, Pete Seeger, old music like that. So I learned how to sing harmony from a very young age, and yeah, all of that music had. I mean, even just singing hymns every week, being a preacher's kid, it just I mean, you learn a lot about music singing hymns
For sure.
So that's where it goes back to. But I still am a child of 60s and 70s music.
Okay. So you are recently back from Seattle. Did I see somewhere that you've done little swaths of gigs in Europe?
Yes. I went with, back in 2019, I went with a group of women. We called ourselves the Lost Cowgirl Review.
Okay.
And we went and played. I've played in Europe a few times because I have friends in Germany. And so
Sure.
there's a little town in Germany I've played at several times. I've actually gotten several Kansas City groups to go play there. Freight Train Rabbit Killer and the Match Sellers. I got them gigs at this place that I played in Germany. It's called Heretica. It's an English guy has a place called Shakespeare's Pub.
Nice.
And so we kind of, with this group of gals, we made, since we already had that gig, we found other gigs we played in Amsterdam,
Okay.
which was really fun. Played an Irish pub there. And then we played, one of the places that we played that was really funny, we played in Freiburg, Germany. And the guy was setting up the gig with me. And he goes, I'm actually from the U.S. He goes, have you ever heard of DeSoto, Kansas? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Once or twice.
And so it turned out this guy, he now lives in Germany and has a music store. And so that was really funny. That was really a coincidence. But yeah, we played in, we spent a little time in Switzerland and then played in Germany and in several little towns.
Sure.
And then Amsterdam. And
Nice.
It was fun. It was
So
fun.
touring around the States, like, it is what it is in terms of leaving home and being on the road and so on and so forth. That's a bigger animal.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to pull off? Is it just a blast? I mean,
Both. I'm really, it really, my problem is a problem that parents have, it's like any parent that travels for work, and the other thing is that, being a folk singer, it's, and being, one of very modest success. It's not like, I'm going and getting paid, $1,500 a gig kind of stuff
right,
even. And
right.
so really it's just a matter of, first of all, how can I find a place to stay, and then if I can do that, then I can probably pay for my passage over there. But like even when we went to Europe, what we basically did was got a free trip to Europe.
Okay.
We didn't make loads of money, but we got to travel to Europe for free by
Cool.
the time that we, got our money. And so like I'm going to Minnesota next month, and it's going to be a blast. Going to Minneapolis, and then I'm playing up in at a series I've done before called the Northern Range Concerts. It's in International Falls, Minnesota. It's really a fun gig. But yeah, the lady lets us stay at her house, or she gets us a hotel room and everything. And that's really the only way that
Right.
I can travel, that it's not just me paying to play, is by first of all, you have to get enough gigs that makes it worth it, and then you basically have to have something akin to a couch.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and even at my age, like I said, I'm still kind of paying my dues, and I don't really expect it to go beyond this, but I'm just grateful to get to play music, and I'm grateful to go. The thing that I've found is really funny is you seem to get, a lot of musicians seem to get more appreciation when they leave their town than when they're in their town,
Right.
and I've definitely found that.
That's funny.
It's but no, I'm hoping in the next few years I can do a lot of touring. I'm planning on playing in Brooklyn this summer, and I'm really excited about that. And but all these are just a kind of paste together things. It's not like big festivals are calling
Right.
me to headline,
Right.
and it's not going to be that way. But at my age, I'm pretty realistic about what to expect
it's
from a
fun.
music career, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Andrew from the Match Sellers was on. They met in
Germany, yeah, they met in Leipzig. They were both Fulbright scholars.
Yeah.
Cool
Yeah,
story.
that's right.
Yeah, cool story.
He was a blast to have on, and he busted out his mandolin and played a little tune for me at the end.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
Yeah. No, he is. They're an interesting bunch. They have they have everything because they've got the musical talent, and they can sing a sad, beautiful song as well as anybody. But those people are funny.
Yeah,
And I really feel like that's the hook that Andrew has, is that on top of everything else, that little extra something he has is the guy's hilarious.
Yeah. Great list that you shared with me.
Oh,
I
good,
appreciate it.
yeah.
I'm excited.
No, that's hard to do.
It is. It is. Guess who never has to do it?
Yeah, that's nice.
So if it's okay, I usually just roll through them in release order.
Yeah.
And so if we do that, it's interesting because two first listens for me are bookended by two favorites.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
if we do that, we start in 1972 with Grateful Dead's Europe
Yeah.
72.
Yeah.
8 of 22 for them, 17 tracks, 109 minutes,
Uh-huh.
triple live release that plays like a studio album for my money.
Well, do you know why it does? That's an interesting story. They actually recorded, they dubbed a lot of the vocals afterwards.
Oh, did they
called
really?
it
Okay.
live.
Okay.
But they dubbed, and I didn't know that for years. But
Wow.
but since it's one of my favorite albums, I kind of geek out on reading about it. And they did on some of the vocals. They definitely.
Okay.
And if you ever see some of the videos of them playing like in Denmark and different places, you can tell that they kind of dubbed over it.
Gotcha.
I still love it.
This is American rock out of Palo Alto, California. Only one Grateful Dead studio record has made a list in 200 plus episodes. So
Oh, wow.
Anytime the Dead makes a list, however they make it, I'm excited to talk about it.
Uh-huh.
Scale of 1 to 10, how big of a Deadhead are you?
1 to 10 is hard. My brother is like the kind of deadhead that followed them all over the world.
Sure.
And has, paid thousands of dollars for a Jerry Garcia self-portrait and
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what I call a 10.
Okay.
What I probably am is a 6 to 7,
Okay.
in that I consider it one of the soundtracks to my life. And my husband and I are both the kind where if we're driving somewhere and Grateful Dead comes on, then it's a good day.
Yeah.
I could probably name 30 songs by them that I love.
Okay.
And there are albums of theirs that I love. Like one of my favorite albums is Working Man's Dead.
Okay.
But what I like about the live album, this Europe 72, is that they really can play the same song so differently depending on the night. And I like that about them because there's so many, trying to think of songs on here that I just absolutely adore. And one of them is Cumberland Blues.
Yes.
I just absolutely love Cumberland Blues. One of my favorite songs always. And I think what I've told you about my influence, you could see how that kind of rings the old time music bells. There's a song, He's Gone.
Oh, man.
That I just love that song. I actually play that song. That's one that I love. And I love the one they do on that. Then they have some that are just kind of funky psychedelic, like Mr. Charlie, and the way they do it on there. I just love. I always love I Know You Writer. Every version I've ever heard, I love. But
Goosebumps.
their version, it's one of my favorite versions.
Sure.
That version they do of it. And, I feel like Bob Weir and Sugar Magnolia. I don't know. It probably goes on for 15 minutes, but I just love it on there. But Bob Weir and Jerry Garcia are two people that I don't care if I'm listening to them with the biggest electric band or if it's just them scratching out something. The men know how to do a song, and they both are very intelligent, hilarious figures that, Bob Weir, one of the funniest guys that I've ever seen when I've seen him in interviews. And I feel like his humor comes, through in the songs as well. But one time I saw an interview with Bob Weir where they were asking him, he just died recently. So they were going back in interviews and they asked him if fame had changed him at all. And he said, well, when I'm eating pistachios now, if there's one that's kind of hard to get open, I just throw it away.
True that, Bob. True that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you have a relative familiarity with the discography, the studio releases that they put out.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Working Men's. What other two make your top three that are not of the live ilk?
Oh gosh, the thing is that I just have to look at album. One of them's Something Junction. I can't remember. It's got a frog on the front of it.
Oh, not Terrapin Station.
Terrapin Station, that's
Okay.
what it is. It's
Okay.
a turtle. It is not a
Yes.
junction.
Yeah, the tambourine, and the little house,
Yes.
little
Yes.
cabin. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's my 65-year-old now. It's some kind of a reptile.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has to do with a train.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that one. And then I'm trying to think. I keep going back to Working Men's Dead, so I have to I can't think. I can think of songs that I love,
Okay.
but I can't think of the Europe 72 is one I listen to all the
Sure.
time, and Working Men's Dead I can do the whole album for you right now if you want me to, and yes, I do like Terrapin Station. I just can't remember. I can't remember now when we're talking about it.
I can't decide on my third. but Terrapin, American Beauty,
Oh, American Beauty. Okay, well,
and then if I probably putting this one in. But if I had to choose another actual studio, I'm torn. Jury's out.
Well, American Beauty, now that you say that, I realize that also is one that has a lot of I tend to be more attracted to ones that have a little bit more of the string band feel to them than I am to the electric.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's kind of how I first fell in love with them, is like Working Men's Dead kind of songs. I mean, Cumberland Blues. I'm trying to think of Uncle John's Band. I love that song, so those are the kind of songs that I fell in love with the Grateful Dead.
So Grateful
originally.
Dead comes to you via your brother.
No. He as I started liking them, I realized that he was a deadhead. He wasn't living at home by then, and and he was a doctor living in a different state.
What are the age?
He's 9 years older than me.
And then you?
No, I'm the youngest.
You're the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and he's 9 years older than me, and so I started, because he's a rich doctor, he's just going, oh yeah, I'm in San Francisco this weekend for the Dead. Oh yeah, I'm in Amsterdam. The Dead are playing here, and so to me that was always kind of funny, that he was such a deadhead. But to me it was like I always had this idea that even though I'd been to a concert, I thought, I wonder if all the deadheads are like my brother, where they can just jet off to Amsterdam.
Not all of them.
Yeah, no, it's not what they are at all. But that was kind of my idea of it.
So Warner Brothers comes to you because you're the Dead's manager in 1971. This album is ready to put out, but they tell you, we've run out of money. We've got to cut it from 17 tracks to 14. What 3 are you cutting? Assuming my writing's legible.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely cutting One More Saturday Night. I don't know. It just wasn't one of mine.
No, mine either.
And let me see here. That's hard because I love Tennessee Jed.
No way. Can't cut that.
Let's see. I don't know, maybe China Cat and Morning. I can't remember China Cat that well. So,
that's That's always the lead into I Know Your Writer.
Oh, then I'm thinking of something different because that's right. They go together.
Yeah, China Writer.
Okay. All right. Then, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to. Well, Hurts Me Too is not my favorite version of it. I've heard versions that I like, but that wasn't my favorite one on there.
I think I'm going Saturday Night, Truckin', Sugar Magnolia.
Yeah. I love Truckin'.
Do you?
It's like a 15-minute version on this one, and
Yep.
that's a problem they have sometimes because everyone likes it. I do love their New Orleans story about being set up like a falling pit and everything, and I like that. So I could never totally turn on that song, but I understand that. That version on there, they don't know when to stop.
Right.
I agree. And there's not that much. It's a pretty slight song to go on for that long.
Long Strange Trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's two tidbits from that. One is when Jerry reconnects with his high school sweetheart and he's sober, he's healthy. They're like in Hawaii and enjoying life.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
scuba diving.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to I'm start writing music again, then like bring some of the boys back around. Next thing you know, the band's back together. And there's a scene. She's backstage, and she's talking to like a roadie or something, and he's looking at her as she's talking. And he goes, "You do know Jerry's using again, right?" Which she didn't.
Oh, I don't even remember.
And so then they're back in the hotel, the two of them, and she says to him, "I'm not going to tell you. You have to stop using. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I am going to tell you that you have to be honest with me, or otherwise this doesn't work." And he goes, "I think it's time for you to leave."
Oh God, I don't even
into the relationship.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And she goes, before the words came, she's like, "I felt the temperature in the room drop."
Yeah.
So there's that, and then I believe I have this story correct. There's a guy in the truck recording, every live show that they do. And for some reason, this guy, for the version of Morning Dew that winds up on Europe 72, he wants to come in. He just has a feeling like it's going to be a crushing version. So he leaves the truck, like all the gear's doing what it's supposed to do, but he's supposed to be in there and managing it. And he sneaks in, he's kind of like off to the side, and Jerry just murders this verse so good. But right as he's about to like go into it, he looks over and sees the guy and just gives him a look like, "You better be getting this."
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I love this record so much.
Yeah.
I don't I go from oldies to classic rock in high school and get a copy of Skeletons in the Closet, best the Grateful Dead, and I'm like, I don't care for this at all. Like, it's not, it doesn't do anything for me. Because a lot, half of it is the radio hits like Truckin' and Sugar Magnolia and Saturday Night. It wasn't until college when I get a copy of American Beauty and I get a copy of Europe 72, and I'm like, okay.
Well, you have challenged me because I'm looking on here and I'm seeing that most of the time I listen to the first four sides, and I really need to go back and listen to Morning Dew.
Okay.
Because I just, now that you're saying that, it's like, okay, I know I don't listen to trucking as much on here. Trucking, I just don't. It's the kind, I've seen it in a couple of movies and I'll hear it. It just reminds me of what a funny song it is.
Do you know Sturgill Simpson?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listening to Morning Dew on this and then seek out.
Okay.
Sturgill's covered it, and there's a fairly recent version where he just, I bring you to
that's
tears.
Someone I like,
yeah.
So definitely,
yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that I like about them live is that some of these songs that they, it's just they are a group. It's funny that you didn't like some of the studio albums because that's the problem that I have with them. Is some of these songs
I didn't like some of the tracks that were selected for their greatest hits.
Yeah,
most of the studio stuff I like. Like if you put Sugar Magnolia on the record that it came out on, and I'm listening to the whole thing, I like it
the
there.
Whole thing.
But I don't want to hear Truckin', Saturday Night, Sugar Magnolia, Casey Jones.
Got it.
I had wild ambitions of making it through this before without having to use the restroom.
Oh, okay.
That's not happening. So I need to. Okay. So a 7-year leap to 1979 with the aforementioned
Roches. Yes.
First of 13, 10 tracks, 39 minutes, American vocal trio out of Park Ridge, New Jersey. A podcast first, a first listen for me. Tell me all the things about these gals and this record.
Okay. Well, first of all, as I said earlier, first time I heard the Roches was two of the Roches, Maggie and Terry, used to be a duo, and Paul Simon kind of discovered them,
Right.
and so they
There
were on.
goes
They were
Ryman
on.
Simon.
There goes Ryman Simon. I then heard the song "The Married Man" on Saturday Night Live, and I have to admit that in the '70s, a lot of stuff that I heard, a lot of musicians that I love, like Rickie Jones, the first time I heard them was on Saturday Night Live, and so I wanted to see who wrote at the on Saturday Night Live. I think it was Phoebe Snow and Linda Ronstadt or somebody like that sang it together,
cool.
So it was a cool version of it. And I'm like, who wrote this? And so I figure out it's the Roches, and I'm like 17 or 18 at the time, and it was when I was starting to write music myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are women writing music, and it's not like Carole King or Joni Mitchell. And I love Carole King and Joni Mitchell, no problem with them, but this was a rougher type of song, and it just spoke to me more. Every song I just have a relationship with. We're talking about the how much I like the Grateful Dead Europe 72, but there's still, as you saw, there were still a couple where, well, I'm not really as familiar with that, or I didn't know the name of that. No, I could sing this album just from beginning to end and everything. And I just like the fact that they're weird and funky, but incredibly honest. The songs that stick out the most to me, besides, of course, The Married Man, is just, it's a perfect song. And every 20-something woman, knows about married men. When you're a young woman, it's just, it's unfortunately, everyone's been hit on by the poor married men. But I just loved, one of the songs that I had the most emotional attachment to is the song, the Hammond song.
Okay.
And I just love that, it's this young woman singing. If people in her family are singing to her, if you go down to Hammond, you'll never come back, and you're on the wrong track, and you're messing up, and it's so funny. And then at a point she says, well, I went down to Hammond, I did as I pleased, I'm not the only one that has this disease. And I thought about being 20 years old and getting a full scholarship to study in Germany for the summer, and turning it down because I didn't want to be away from my boyfriend. And I thought about the silly things that we do in our life, but also times in my life where I really had to be brave and do something that everyone was telling me not to do, and it didn't matter if it was a mistake, because it was just a mistake that I had to make.
Yeah.
And I believe that women experienced that, especially back then, maybe in a different way than men. Sure. So I really liked that about them, that they were just, there was just a boldness to them. And then there's a song on there that I just think is hilarious, and the humor that they have. Mr. Selleck, can I have my job back? I've run out of money again. And as someone that spent so much of my life working jobs I didn't want to, but needing them, and she says something like, let the other 40,307 people who want to get famous. I just want my job back.
Right.
And there's just such humor to that. There is a song called Damned Old Dog, saying, if I were a dog, I wouldn't be fussy for you. And then there's a line I just love, talking about limping around in the moonlight, covering up what I did. Words decompose all around me, nuisances I committed. I love those lines.
Yeah.
And, they just, they had gorgeous voices. They have all the pathos and the joy of being young in that album. And they're just, to me, it was just a real inspiration hearing those sisters.
Sure.
I love the sister harmony. One of my favorite things to do is to sing with other women. I just love the fact that there is nothing that they won't attack. They're not embarrassed to just put it all out there, and it never sounds like women trying to imitate men,
Right.
and it's definitely female songwriting. And
not only was this a first listen, I had never heard of them before.
oh, is that right?
So I hit play, and that opening track is full of silliness, humor.
Yes.
And I'm like, is the whole record good?
Oh yeah,
Nope.
No.
Departure and never to return, and it was lovely.
Yeah.
You mentioned the vocals and the harmonies. Are you familiar with First Aid Kit?
No, I'm not.
Okay. They are
A women's group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At very least, the two lead vocal are women. Vocalists are women, and they have gorgeous range, and the harmonies are phenomenal. I could not stop thinking about they must have listened to them.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
yeah,
I'd be curious.
I think they've probably had influence on a lot of groups. Two of my favorite girl groups that are now pretty dated at this point. I mean, it was a long time ago they were playing, but two of my favorite girl groups were Waylon Jennings and the Be Good Tanyas.
Okay.
And I feel like they both took a lot from the Roches, probably.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed it. And a short 2-year leap to 1981 with Rickie Lee Jones' Pirates. This is second of 15 for her. 8 songs, 38 minutes. Singer, songwriter, musician out of Chicago. Another podcast first, another first listen for me. This is not an attempt to put value on a woman based on any relationship that she has had. Yeah. However, I was thrilled to learn that she dated Tom Waits. Yeah, because I'm a big Tom Waits fan.
Yeah, and of course you heard the Tom Waits. You hear the Tom Waits 1,000% in there, especially the way that he comes up with caricatures of people and tells those stories. And she does the same thing. Yeah.
So you get turned on to Rickie Lee Jones. How? And Pirates is special for you. Why?
Well, my first Rickie Lee Jones that I listened to, and it's really there's a few albums of hers that I there's a lot of her albums that I love, and it was really hard picking one. The first time I heard her was my best friend and I were watching Saturday Night Live when we were in high school, and she comes on, singing Chucky's in Love, and it's like, who is this woman?
That's my only reference prior to this.
Okay, we're like, who is this lady? She is cool.
Yeah, and
so every album that I listen to, there's a few things that strike me. First of all, beautiful melodies and a voice that only her voice could do them justice a lot of the time. Beautiful, heartbreaking words, or really funny, kind of wry, cynical look at people an atmosphere that she's been involved in. Obviously, her boyfriend, who we all know to be a guy that likes to hang out with strange figures and stuff. A lot of the things that she's done, I just like the little worlds that she lets you into for a little bit. This album, there are a few songs on it that I just absolutely like. You talk about the soundtrack of your life, and the first song on there, "We Belong Together," I think is a beautiful song, and then "A Lucky Guy." I just feel like those are two of the best love songs that I've heard in my life, and I love that they're written by a woman, and I love that there is also a female perspective there. However, it's not always a female perspective, and I heard like Woody and Dutch on the Slow Train to Peaky, some of
oh
her.
Oh my God, I love that tune.
Yeah, and
that was phenomenal.
Yeah, but that's not a woman's song. That's just everyone's song. That's just
very full.
Yeah. And then another song on there. To be honest, it really had an influence on me at the time, and it was a song called "Skeletons," and it's about a woman. She and her boyfriend Bird. She's pregnant with a child, and he's obviously either black or Hispanic. You can tell from this song because they keep talking about we should move to the East Side where they still believe in things that give a kid half a chance. And then at one point, Bird is out, and they said he fit the APB for a robbery that was nearby. So there's this line, he goes for his wallet and they thought that he was going for his gun, so they blow him away.
Yeah.
And it's like that to me, that was just like watching a movie, a short film, or reading a short story. And I don't know how many times, in the last 20 years when something sad has happened in our own society that I think about, how prescient that picture was and everything. And I just feel like she has a real empathy for her fellow humans in these songs, and she's fun and she's wild and she's she misbehaves, and all these things come out in her music. And it's just, she's really another bold soul. And I can't say that she's really influenced my songwriting the way that the Roches have, because I just feel like she inhabits a totally different world than I do. But that's what I like in people that create art, is when they do inhabit a totally different world than I do. And it's and they let you in for a little bit.
Sure.
And that's what she does for me.
Well, I didn't even really. It's like I had this weird. How do I know? I mean, obviously I know her name.
Yeah.
But just sitting down, I'm like, how do I know her? And maybe it's on this record. Well, I listened to the whole thing; it wasn't on there. And then I look, I'm like, oh yeah, Chucky's in love.
Yeah.
She's fascinating. She's fascinating.
Well, I will say that if one thing encouraged me to go back to playing music, I had been so involved in just raising a family and doing my job and, caring for elderly parents, all these things. And when I was probably 50 years old, my husband took me to the Stiefel Theater in Salina, Kansas, that has these great concerts sometime, to hear Rickie Lee Jones. And he bought me front row tickets. And
he sounds like a great dude.
And he is a great dude. And I hadn't been to a concert in a long time. And she got up for her encore and did a version of Sympathy with the Devil that was just electrifying.
Wow.
And I tell you, as much as I loved her, it was like
with the hoo-hoos and everything.
Yeah, but in her own way.
Of course.
But in her own way, and it was just incredible. And I went to see her this fall, and she did the same thing at the Uptown, but different version of it though, because of course great musicians, they
have that in their bag
twice. And every time I hear her, I don't know how old she is now. She's probably edging on 70. But man, can that girl rock?
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we close it out by jumping ahead to 1992. Good As I've Been to You. Bob Dylan, 28 of 40, 13 tracks, 55 minutes. One could argue that anything and everything Bob Dylan brings with it a lot to unpack. Where on the fandom scale would you put yourself?
Bob Dylan. It's funny because in the Bob Dylan biopic recently, there's this point where Joan Baez says, "Bob, you're an asshole." And part of me, that's part of Bob. Also, Bob Dylan, I would probably still have to put myself at about a 9.
A 9,
because he's had an incredible influence on me. And when Bob is good, Bob's the best. When Bob's bad, he can be very, very bad. But this album, to me, if I had to pick one album, it would probably be this album. And the reason being, first of all, every song on here is a song that I just love. And I love the fact that Bob Dylan loves them, because I think that Bob Dylan started out loving music the same reason I did. He listened to all these old songs and he just absolutely loved them, and he had a connection to them, and he outgrew the folk scene, and I don't blame him.
Right.
One thing I've never blamed Bob for is getting away from that and not being their monkey and going electric. I have never blamed him for that. And there are several of his albums that I absolutely love, but I love this one because he went back in 1992 back to the songs that really mattered to him back then. And every one of them is an incredible part of the American, the folk song book. Hard Times, one of my favorite songs by Stephen Foster. Frankie and Albert, Blackjack Davy, which is sometimes Gypsy Davy, which I just absolutely love. And, you hear these songs and you're like, okay, that's where you got that line, boots of Spanish leather, because it's in the Gypsy Davy, and every song, I'm trying to think, I love the song Sitting on Top of the World. I love the song Little Maggie. These are all songs that they're bluegrass or they're jug band music, which I love. Like Step It Up and Go is an incredible old bluegrass song. And he obviously had listened to a lot of the old black jug bands. And so most of the music that I absolutely was drawn to from, the folk revival is exactly where Bob was. And to me, it's just any time that I want to get down on Bob, I have to remember where he came from and what he was able to do for music.
That's right.
And he's just the songs like albums like Nashville Skyline and what's all of a sudden I've forgotten Blood on the Tracks. Blood on the Tracks, one of my favorite albums ever. And whenever I look at albums like that, I just think, oh, this is what started it. And I'm just so grateful to him for going back to everything that he loved and doing these pared down versions of them that are just absolutely gorgeous and fun and raw. And so this when I listened to this album in 1992, I immediately went back to Bob Dylan. Then it's like, okay, this is you got to remember how much you like Bob Dylan, and this is who he is. It's not all he is, but it's the beginning of who he is.
In the world of track sequence, the order in which tracks appear on an album, probably my all-time favorite sequence of songs is Big Girl Now into Idiot Wind.
Oh, yes.
They just, they're like two different songs. They really just flow.
Yes.
So.
And Idiot Wind, what a song.
Yeah. Talking about philosophy in German, and that's what. Well, when I went back to school, I got a master's in creative writing, which is not like translatable in the job world.
It's kind of like my philosophy degree.
I wouldn't change it for anything.
Oh yeah,
because like if I magic button tomorrow, I wake up and do what I want to do, I would write, and I have written lots of things over the years. At one point, I decided I was going to visit the whole catalog. This is like 2010. And I was like, but it doesn't count unless you listen to each album 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And since then I've decided, 1 listen gives you nothing. 2 gives you an opinion.
Yeah.
3 gives you the liberty to share the opinion.
So
I did that for the, and he's put out a number of records since I did that project, but I got
how many were there?
37.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, I did a top, it was a writing project. I did top 25 and I did it in parts. It was like part 3, part 2, part 1. And then here's the ones records that he made that didn't make the top 25.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago. In like September, college buddy reached out. Me and 2 buddies in college were on the newspaper staff, and he said, "Let's all make a Bob Dylan playlist, 24 track maximum, and we'll share it with one another, and eventually make a master." So I know them well.
So what were some of your 24?
Well, I know them well, so I knew they were gonna kind of stick with what they love, which meant they weren't going to really visit anything newish.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I know 64 through, the early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. I know that stuff well, but I'm going to start new. And I'm going to really give all that stuff a listen, and then I'll go back, check in with the 60s, 70s, 80s.
So was World Gone Wrong on your list? That album, or was that still one of the earlier ones?
World Gone Wrong, I chose, there's a Jackarow, I think. So Jackarow from that, and from this I chose Step It Up and Go.
Oh, yeah.
But it was really hard. So I all right, I'm really invested in this newer piece. And then I kind of fell off for a little bit, and then all right, let's start and work our way through. And a couple months in, I check, hey, how are we doing? Oh, well, still blah blah blah. And then I finished, kind of probably early mid December. I just sat waiting and waiting. I had ready to share.
Yeah.
And on Christmas morning, the guy who had the idea just shared his. And I was like, "Oh my God!" So I shared mine, and then our third buddy eventually shared his too. But when the first buddy shared, and then I shared, he goes, "We have no repeats."
Oh, that's
And I was
amazing.
like, I worked long and hard.
That's
I mean, I made a
amazing.
list, and then I was like, "There's absolutely no way for me to make cuts.
Yeah.
How can I make
Yeah.
cuts?" But
Yeah.
I slowly,
You were able to.
over time, made
Yeah.
cuts, and I was really pleased with the final product. But I love Bob so much.
Yeah.
And, when somebody shares their list with me, sometimes, like I've said, it's like, oh, I know all those. Sometimes I don't know any of them. Sometimes I know a few.
Yeah.
Sometimes at first glance, it's so foreign that I don't know what the artist or the album name is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you share, and I'm like, I know Rickie Lee Jones. I know
Yeah.
who she is.
Yeah.
I know the Dead.
Yeah.
I don't know this Roches
Yeah.
outfit. We'll find out. And Bob, like, I know Bob
Yeah.
really well. And I'm
Yeah.
like, good as I've been to you?
Uh-huh.
I love the album because of this, for the same reason that Bob
Yeah.
went back and did all this.
Yeah.
And I was like, but who is this gal? What?
Yeah.
And then I learn a little bit about you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, boom.
Yeah.
That fits right there.
And I mean, with Bob Dylan, I mean, like I said, you're asking me to pick 4 albums, and you're someone like me where picking 4 albums is just like, it's just about impossible. But and I mean, I think of things like College, where the song "You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go," like I listen to over and over and over again, and "Tangled Up in Blue," I consider one of the best songs ever. But just I have an emotional connection to this album. The first time I know exactly where I was the first time I heard it, and I know the record store that I was in when I got the CD, because the minute I looked at the tracks, I was like, oh my God, and his version of Arthur McBride, his version of "You're Gonna Quit Me," it's every song on here. I remember hearing it and just it was like practically religious experience.
Oh, yeah.
because I always feel that way about it, and that's why I have to put Bob Dylan at a 9, because when you put it all together, it's
The one thing my buddy said, after he shared his surprise that we didn't have any repeats, he's like, I knew, like, we're all kind of, we might have said it, or maybe just kind of was understood that we don't want to have repeats.
Yeah, so everybody kind of stayed in a different lane.
But he said, I knew I couldn't pick Isis, and I knew I couldn't pick Big Girl Now, because I knew you were going to. I was
that's
like,
funny.
there was no chance Isis was not going to be on my list.
Okay.
Which is wild, because that's off of Desire, I believe, and Desire has Hurricane.
Oh, okay.
Which is the big, but there's so much other good stuff on Desire. Anyway, we're talking.
Well, have you seen him in person?
Spirit Fest.
Oh,
in the 80s,
yeah, I remember
late
he was
80s.
there. I didn't see that. My husband and I went to see him about maybe 12 years ago at the Starlight, and I was pretty impressed. I mean, it wasn't. To be honest, my favorite Dylan concert would be Dylan with the guitar, and that's all. But he played forever. And you got to admire somebody that has been around as much as he is, and to just, okay, I'm gonna do an encore. Okay, I'll do another encore. I mean, he's regardless of how he presents himself, he's still, I feel like he's a generous performer, and I'm glad I got to see him. I would pay over $1,000 per ticket to see him just sit with his guitar, though.
That's awesome. Such a fun list. Thank you again for sharing it with me. I like to hit you with a list of goofy questions.
Sure.
And then we'll wrap and get you out of here.
Sure.
Okay. So the first is you're given the ability to have a cup of coffee with anyone of your choosing, dead or alive. Who's it going to be and why?
It's going to be a scientist named Richard Feynman. He was a physicist. He's probably most well known for he worked on the New Mexico, the bomb project, the Manhattan Project. Yeah, but he's written several books. He wasn't just a scientist. He was also an artist. He was an incredible humanist, and he's written some incredible books. And I've also seen so many videos of him where he just talks about knowledge and the human experience. And just a brilliant, amazing man. And so I always thought if I could meet one person to talk to him, it would be Richard Feynman. Yeah, just a physicist, but a brilliant man.
If we can pretend or imagine that we all have a personal and a professional bucket list, you're given all the necessary resources to go knock out number one on both of those lists. What are those number ones?
Okay. A personal one. That's a great question. I just, I'm trying to think of what I would want to do. I probably would want to be able to take my daughter, whose life is somewhat small because she's nonverbal autistic. I would love to take her to some distant place like Japan and let her see let her have an incredible experience that a lot of people don't get to have. Sometimes I worry about her life being small, and I've noticed that when I do take her places where there's nature like the Grand Canyon, it just totally opens her world. She's a brilliant little girl, and I just think taking her someplace like that would be my personal thing.
If you do that,
yeah.
Take me too, please.
Okay, I will. Do you like volcanoes too?
I just want to go to Japan.
Me too.
I'll have no demands beyond just getting there.
Yeah, me too. Okay. That's something I would love to do. And then professionally, that's really hard, but I would probably love to be able to get together with a group of my favorite local musicians and get to play some really big gig like town hall or something, that to go someplace like or play on a big stage at a bluegrass festival or something. I love I play by myself a lot because I write my own songs and it's easier to do that. But to me, the most fun thing to do in the world is to play with a band of friends and incredible musicians. And so, I just, to play on a really big stage for once with friends would be wonderful.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
This one, we're not interested in changing who Julie Bennett Hume became. This is not cloaked in regret. However, you're given the ability to visit your past self at any age of your choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Well, it's interesting because I like to write fiction too, as you said. You like to write.
Nice.
And I have been working on one book about my youth. I really feel like I was at my best when I was 10 years old. I was liking really good music for my age. I was reading really good books for my age. I loved sports. I loved being involved in sports. And because of some personal things that happened in my family, but also because I was destined to be the kind of person that had a really awkward youth, I lost a lot of the best parts of myself just trying to fit in and trying not to stand out. I'm listening to nerdy music. I'm reading nerdy books. I look nerdy, all this kind of stuff. And if I could go back, I would tell myself, as someone that taught for years, the kids that I always admired the most were the ones that just said, F the rest of the world. Right? I am who I am. Yeah. And so if I could go back to my 10-year-old, I'd say, you are totally on the right track. You've got, you've got all the right interest. You're a nice person. You don't try to be mean to anybody. You love sports. Keep being a tomboy. Keep reading nerdy books. Keep listening to music that your friends don't like. I would love to be able to do that. I eventually found myself again, but I went through some hard times trying to just kind of deny who I was.
Okay.
And once I embraced the nerdiness and the not fitting in, I was a lot happier.
I don't think I incorporated this question piece of the interview process until about 50 episodes deep. So it's possible that I've asked 150 plus people that question.
Yeah.
I've never really considered it for myself, but I think that's my same answer.
Oh, wonderful.
Same age and same stuff. Like, hey, dude, it's not a contest. Just keep.
Yeah. And you know those, have you seen those documentaries like 7 Up and 14 Up and 21 Up? This British filmmaker followed these British kids from the time they were 7. He does a film every 7 years. So he did 7 Up, 14 Up, 21 Up,
same
28,
kids
28
each time?
Up, 35 Up, 42 Up.
Whoa.
And now they're like a little older than I am. And of course, unfortunately, some of them have died, but and some of them have had really sad lives. But his what he says at the very first documentary is, "Show me the child, and I'll show you the man." And I really believe, I mean, when I look back at myself at those years, like I'd say between about 7 and 11. Absolutely. I absolutely was then who I am now.
What a trip.
And when you see those people, like there's, I mean, it's just so funny. And, some of them ended up being like cab drivers or physics professors or everything in between. But it's like you still see, if you've watched all of that, like my husband and I have obsessively watched every one of those documentaries. And, we know those kids, and we as adults, we still see that kid, and we know them. And in almost every case, but I do think we are who we are. I think we might lose it or something, but I it's there. You absolutely are who you were, and I think you if you can find who you were at your best, you're really lucky.
Yeah. That's a great answer. You're aware that at one point in time there was a television program called Fear Factor?
Yeah, but I don't really know that much about it.
Well, you win. It's like early reality TV, and you win the challenge by tolerating different degrees of gross. I didn't know. I kind of just, that's all I know.
Yeah.
I think that, you lay in a coffin and they dump spiders on you or what.
Okay. Yeah.
This is not that. This is real life.
Okay.
You've got to get from point A to point B. In the middle is your biggest source of anxiety, fear, creeps, heebie-jeebies, whatever it is. You've got to get past it.
Yeah.
What is it?
I think that what it probably would be going through a dark forest at night all by myself. I recently had to go back to sell my family farm in southern Arkansas. My family has had since the 1820s this beautiful family farm down there, but it's just in the wilderness. And now a lot of the farms are gone, and it's just complete wilderness. And I could not even spend the night in the house for one night in the middle of the woods. There's something about it. Maybe it's the German in me that read too many fairy tales about the forest. But there are people, the Walden fantasy of living out, somewhere all by yourself. For some reason, it just scares me to death. The idea, I think one reason I used to be there, my grandma lived out there all by herself. And I've never come face to face with death like I did when I was just out in the middle of this black night with nothing around and everything. And I still can't stand it. I tried to talk to a friend. I don't want to go spend the night there. And she says, "Is it because of ghosts?" And I'm like, sort of. It's not a real ghost, but it's just sort of like when there's nothing, no white noise, nothing standing between you and that absolute darkness. It freaks me out.
Funny that you say this, because I thought of it talking bears earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I watched a TikTok last night. This dude is just in his car telling a story on his phone. And this man goes on this solo camping trip in the woods,
Uh-huh.
and he's asleep in his tent, and he hears something happening out by his campfire, and
Yeah.
he's asleep. It wakes him up, and he looks out, and there's a man sitting there, like staring into the fire. And the man looks up and makes eye contact with him, and his eyes get really wide, and he goes, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" And the guy is terrified, but the other person disappears into the woods. You can't see him with a flashlight or anything.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm out of here."
Oh, yeah.
Packs up camp, goes as far as he can go until he's completely exhausted, but has to set up camp again. And this happens like 3 or 4 times
During the night?
before he nights before he's
okay.
finally. That's how far from his car he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And each night, it's like, one night the guy's like just on the edge of the woods, always asks the same. One night he's like right outside his tent,
And it's the same guy?
always asking the same question, always gets the widened eyes when they make eye contact, asks the same question and disappears into the woods. And the guy's just completely terrified. And he reaches the end of he finally makes it back to his car, and like, "I'm never going to go camping alone by myself ever again." I'm like, that was the absolute worst story I've ever sat through, because I don't care how tired.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping that first time.
No.
And then you experience it 3 more times.
God. Oh, God. No. I guess I just walked back to that car till I fell down. Unconscious. No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm making it to the car, or I'm dying trying.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. See, and that's what,
Setting
and
up
that's
camp night and again.
Oh man, and that's why. I mean, and that is one thing. It's like I used to think, oh, it'd be fun to do through hike of the Appalachian Trail. You know, I told you my husband I'd love to do national parks. I thought that'd be so much fun. And then I read about these women doing it by themselves, and I can't tell you the number of reasons that would scare the crap out of me. And not just wild animals, not just men with mischief on their mind, but just for a million reasons I could not do that. And women that men for anybody that through hikes Appalachian Trail by themselves, it's like they're made of
Anywhere.
They're made
through
of
hike
different,
by yourself anywhere.
Yeah. No, they're made
I
of
did,
different
however,
stuff.
really enjoy the comments section, which was just person after person being like, "My couch and my snacks never treated me that way."
Oh, that's funny.
You don't have to go do that.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least,
Okay.
please complete this for me.
Okay.
The world would immediately become a better place in which to live, if only.
If only everybody read philosophy.
Wow. Not where I expected you to go, but I dig it. I dig it.
I always have thought one thing I like about Stoicism is the idea, it comes from the word stoa, which means porch, and it had to do with people going out and teaching people how to live better by like just sitting out on a porch and talking to people about how to live right. And I just kind of feel like if we had the kind of society where we spend our time like earnestly talking about how to be a good person and how to live a good life and how to live a life of substance, I feel like I feel like that's what's missing. I feel like people aren't reflective, and I really do. I guess that I'm naive in that I don't think religion could make the world better, but I think really deep thought could.
I just added one more thing on my list of things to send you, and that's this. I think the handle is Daily Dad. He's really phenomenal, and I actually bought one of his books and read it, and it was phenomenal. But he's way into the Stoics.
Oh, okay.
And like that stuff is wrapped into almost everything that he's saying.
Wonderful.
I'm gonna send that to you too.
Yeah, there's people that make fun of the popularized Stoicism, but I believe that's really the place to start. I
Every
really
time
do.
I consume it, it feels rooted and good. And betterment. And so.
Yeah. I as someone that's not, I grew up with a religious person. I'm not religious. It's not something you can be if you're not, and I'm not. But I do believe I learned from my father about, I do believe the old line that the examined life is the good life, and so I don't believe that human beings live examined lives, and I believe that's the worst thing. Netanyahu does not live and examine live.
Right. Okay. At Julie_Bennett Hume Music on Instagram. Bennett has 2 N's, 2 T's. Julie Bennett Hume.com. Facebook, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, CD Baby. The Hammers Dueling Piano Bar gig on April 15th, 3901 Main. And then other plugs.
Yeah,
The KKFI show.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
KKFI, She Talk Wha.
She Talk
and
Wha.
And then I and every once in a while I do the Thursday night local showcase on KKFI.
Okay.
And I love doing that. I also love being with Heartless Song Network. I love helping out local musicians, and it's a thing I hope everybody will look up if they're a musician in town looking for support
Sure.
in different ways.
I do love that She Talk Wha is a play on words.
Yes.
Right? It's very clever. Very clever.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you had hoped that we would cover that we did not?
My God, no. This has been pretty thorough.
Okay. Julie Bennett Hume, it was lovely to meet you. I appreciate all the correspondence. Thanks for sharing part of your Tuesday with me, and I hope to talk to you soon.
It's been so much fun, and thank you so much for having me.